Welcome to West Virginia Sports Connection. We're coming to you from Adelphia Sports Bar and Grill in downtown Charleston, West Virginia. I'm your host, Tracy Abdell, and I'm joined by my co-host, three-time NFL All-Pro, Carl Lee from the Minnesota Vikings. What's up, Carl?
Hey, man, just another busy day.
Man, football in West Virginia, it's always fun this time of year. Last time we were on the show, West Virginia had come off a pretty bad loss to Iowa State. They were going into the bye, and I asked you a bunch of things like, how does a team prepare? Well, whatever Dana Holgorsen did, it must have worked because they looked like they had at the beginning of the season, and this time it didn't look like they took their foot off the gas pedal in the second half.
No, and I really think, I don't think Baylor was a very good football team. Clearly, early on in the game, you could see their receivers, they weren't interested in catching the ball over the middle. So this was a good win for WVU, but I'm not sure Baylor was the test to say, okay, we've rebounded completely. But it's a good confidence builder and something that I think they'll use going forward. If I'm a coach and we put those kind of numbers up, and the reason you put those up is you don't want to take your foot off the gas. You want to make sure that you make a statement so everybody in that locker room feels good about that win.
So when in previous shows we talked about, now the film's out on West Virginia. So even though Baylor's not, a great team at this juncture, it's out there now. So when you have a performance like that, is it exactly what you said? Is it the confidence builder? Is it just catapult you to the next game?
It gives you confidence going forward, but it doesn't necessarily solve the issues that you have. If you can't defend the run, if you can't protect the quarterback, and while you beat Baylor and you beat them well and you somewhat protected your quarterback, it doesn't change the view of a team that's as good or better than you. That's where the film comes in. You can send the film to any team that you can clearly beat, right? And you don't have to worry about it. It's those teams that can be close to you and or are better than you. When they see the map of how you win a football game against a WVU, Marshall, whoever it is, it's out there, and you can't take it back, and you have to fix that problem.
So they're coming up against Texas this coming weekend. And Texas, until last week when they lost, were ranked 6th in the country, and they said, "Oh, Texas is back." And Texas, man, it's the richest university in the country, and so they can get all kinds of athletes. How does the WVU, stuck here in West Virginia and Morgantown, how do they compete with somebody who has that kind of resources?
You're always going to get certain kinds of players. Schools, no matter where they are, I can give you an example. There was a young man by the name of Isaac Holt who played with me in Minnesota. He covered Jerry Rice in college. The Vikings drafted him because he covered him. So there's talent everywhere. So you can get that in the pros. You can get that in college. You can find that guy that someone else thinks is like too small. WVU recruited me like one day and said I was too small. And I was 155 pounds, so I get it. So these teams, they're going to get talent. You've got a Greer on that football team. That's a guy who you're talking about can be a top draft pick and could possibly play on Sunday at the quarterback position. So talent is spread out. There's so much talent out there that everybody's going to get their share.
I thought they looked pretty good this week. The one thing I saw Greer do, he got rid of the ball, but there was one play where he lost like 20 yards, and all he had to do was throw it out of the end zone. That's got to drive a coach nuts. You're a former coach. What do you tell the guy? You look at him and be like, why didn't you throw the ball?
You see it on Sunday. You see guys hold the ball on Sunday. Kirk Cousins is driving me crazy. He fumbles the ball every time he gets hit as a quarterback, and I'm like, dude, throw the ball. So, but not being a quarterback, it's kind of like telling the defensive back that you should be able to cover that guy. It looks like it should happen, and it's simple just to cover the guy. But when you're actually out there, it can be a challenge.
Well, I want to switch to your alma mater. I want to talk about Marshall. They're coming off a bye week. We talked about how West Virginia prepared for coming off their bye week. Marshall's now coming off theirs, and something we talked about before the show, Doc Holliday named Alex Thompson the starter again. He started the last couple weeks. Green was the starter for the first 4 weeks. He's healthy now. Thompson only came in because he was hurt, but is he healthy? Is he ready? Or is it because the team's now looking pretty good? This guy's got an added dimension of running the ball. Thompson, that is. What makes a coach make that decision to stick with him? Is it just kind of a gut feeling?
It is a gut feeling, and coaches and players are superstitious too, as well. So if you can get on a run and you've got a quarterback who's controlling the offense and you're winning, it's hard to go back to that guy that you're like, I'm not really sure. So whether he's healthy or not, this being a bye week, if you're going to make that change, this is the week to make the change. Bye weeks, crazy things happen in bye weeks. Guys win and lose positions in bye weeks because the team now is really looking to make their move going forward after that bye week.
Well, I know Southern Miss is pretty tough on defense, and Thompson's going to have a challenge this week going down there. But, I mean, I've watched him progress. I was at the game when he first came in, when he first played, and they had a lead and then they lost it, and they didn't look very good that game. And then it's almost like a 180. It's like a light bulb went off. Is it just repetitions? Is it just the weeks of practice that he gets with the number ones?
Well, when you get thrown into a game, when you know, as a starter for the first time, it can go south in a hurry, you know, because you in your head you're like realizing, oh, I'm going in and I'm getting ready to play. Great. And then you're out there, and then it's like you have a bad play. Now the question is where's that mindset? Can you shift your mindset and say, let me put that behind me? Or are you constantly thinking about that, and that just mounts on one after another, and before you know it, you've had a bad day. But you get back in, you understand the mistakes you made.
Well, all right, well, we're going to have to take a commercial break. Listen, if you like what you see, you can check us out on Facebook, on YouTube, we're on television on Network West Virginia on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You can also catch us on iTunes. And if you really like what you see, we're looking for sponsors for the show. And don't forget, you can check it out on our website at wvsportsconnection.com. Don't go away. We're coming back with Chris Massey, former NFL player. We'll be right back.
Funding for West Virginia Sports Connection provided by West Virginia State University, The Barnes Agency, Spriggs Distributed, Tony the Tailor, West Virginia's finest men's store, Paul Corey, CPA and Associates, Hendrickson and Long.
It's fall here at Tony the Tailor. No one in the Mid-Atlantic does men's clothing like Tony the Tailor. Best selection of quality sportswear from Johnny O, Brax, and Ledbury. Huge shoe department featuring Cole Haan and DiBianco. Jackets and suits from Hickey Freeman, Samuelson, and Talia. And, of course, free alterations by Master Tailors. Tony the Tailor, 822 Virginia Street, downtown Charleston, or online at bestmastertailor.com.
Welcome back to West Virginia Sports Connection. When we went out, we were talking about Marshall University, and there's no better way to introduce Marshall University than introducing our guest, Chris Massey, formerly of Marshall University, formerly of the Los Angeles Rams in the NFL, and East Bank High School. Listen, man, Carl and I, we talked about who we're going to put on the show and how we're going to come up with guests. In the last show, he said, you know, I can get Chris Massey, and I'm like, all right, great, let's do it. So here you are. So thank you, Carl, for bringing him in.
Hey, I enjoy him. We've met, gosh, I don't know how long ago now, and every time that we're around each other, we always have a good time. So he's a guy that I always think about. If I'm doing something, I'm trying to have him involved with it.
Well, that's awesome. Now listen, I read an article, and you know, for a guy like me who's a sports enthusiast, you know, our show's premised on he's a pro, I'm a fan, and that we come at things from different perspectives. And I read something on you that said, out of playing, you know, in major college football, playing in the NFL, your funnest days were at East Bank High School.
Tracy, there ain't nothing like Friday Night Lights at Calvert Field. And, you know, from the time we was little, you know, the tradition up at Eastern Kanawha County is just unbelievable. From, you know, DuPont to East Bank, and, you know, we were bred to get to East Bank High School. You know, that was like the Dallas Cowboys, you know, back in the day. I mean,
so when you were younger, that's how you were looking at it. You couldn't wait to get there.
All of us couldn't wait to get up there and put on the blue and white. You know, those the guys I grew up watching, you know, my brother was 6 years older than me. He won two state championships. You know, I can still remember the guys, you know, Wayne Burdett, Booty Jack Crider, all the guys that played before me, and those were superstars to me and all of us growing up. And, you know, being able to grow up and play with your friends all the way from youth league to high school, and it meant something. And then to share in a state championship my senior year, there wasn't nothing better.
I was reading you kind of got disappointed on your sophomore and your junior year. You said that you guys weren't quite ready to really go all the way, and then your senior year, here you are. How much pressure? I mean, your brother, you just said, won 2 state championships. Well, now you're there. Was there any pressure?
I mean, we knew we had a great football team, and you know, come from East Kanawha County, we always played with a chip on our shoulder. You know, we thrived at the fact that we played 7 AAA schools my senior year. You know, we wanted to go out and we wanted to prove to the state that we were the best football program in the state of West Virginia. And we wasn't quite ready, you know, my sophomore and junior year, but we knew we had a talent, we knew we had the players, we just had to put it all together.
Well, I was going to say, you know, I'm going to back up just a little bit, because what's interesting to me is, you know, when you talk about can't wait to get into blue and white, right? For me, I'm like, you know, I loved high school ball. I couldn't wait to be at South Charleston High School. I couldn't wait to get to Marshall. But in my head, I was always thinking about Sunday. Were you even thinking about where you wanted to go, or were you just trying to get to?
Well, I mean, it's always a dream of every youth football player to play the National Football League. You know, it was always my dream. I just felt like I always had a longer road to go from where I come from. But it wasn't until, you know, I started watching and learning about Carl Lee and guys like Denny Hara that I felt like I had an opportunity to do that. I just had to put in the work. And a funny story, and I think I've shared this with Carl before, I was a huge football card collector growing up. So I had a couple of Carl's cards, right? So, you know, so my mom, she had worked with a gentleman that knew Carl's mother. And he had told me that he would be able to get Carl's signature on my cards. Just give me some time. So I had all my cards lined up, and I gave it to my mom, right? So like a couple weeks go by, and I get the cards back with Carl's signature. And I put them in, you know, the plastic case and everything, and tucked them away. So a few years ago, when I retired from NFL and I came home, my dad said, "Hey, you need to get your stuff out of my house." Right? So I was like, "Oh, it's all my football cards." So I start going through my cards, you know, and then I come across Carl's. And I'm like, "Oh man, it's my Carl Lee cards."
And you two were acquainted at that point.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, these are my Carl Lee cards." And I started looking at the signature.
Oh
and
no.
I was like, "That ain't Carl's signature." That's my mom's signature. And my mom, she did not want to disappoint me, because it was always my dream, because I always talk about, you know, playing in the National Football League, and, you know, if Carl can do it and Denny did it, you know, why can't I do it? And she didn't want to get me down or anything like that, so she had signed them and given them to me, and told me that Carl signed them, and, you know, hey, good luck, and this, that, and the other. So I was telling Carl the story, and Carl was fortunate I was able to get one of Carl's jerseys, that Carl signed it for me. And so I got Stadium Frame, they framed it up real nice with the football cards in it, and I got it in my house. You know, so
Wait, the card with your mom's signature or his signature? That is awesome.
with my mom's signature. So I got them framed in the jersey. Yeah.
You know, when you went to Marshall, I mean, obviously you knew about Carl. What led you to go to Marshall?
Well, you know, I was an All-American in high school. I wasn't recruited, other than, you know, the standard Division II schools and some of the other MAC schools and stuff like that. But, you know, I always felt like I was good enough to play Division I football. And an opportunity came about in my junior year to go to Morgantown. I thought I had an opportunity to go up there, and it kind of fell through. And actually, I was stuck with nowhere to go. And so I was a really good baseball player. At that time, Cal Bailey was recruiting me to state, and I probably had an opportunity to play for Carl. I was going to be a two-sport athlete at state, and right at the last minute, I said, I wanted to go see what it's all about. I just love football that much. I don't think they're that better than me. So I called up Marshall and said I wanted to walk on. I mean, I didn't know any coaches down there. I didn't know anybody down there. I didn't get recruited. So I walked on. I didn't get to join the team until the school started. I didn't get invited to summer camp. I tell people all the time, when I went to Marshall, I was number 115. When I left Marshall, I was a team captain, I was an MVP, and I was a 7th round draft pick of the St. Louis Rams in 2002.
That is such an awesome story, because you don't hear, I mean, you see all these high draft picks, right? You don't hear your story that often. And one of the things Carl and I think bonded with over years ago is I got to know Carl, and I got to know his story. And getting to know your story, that's kind of what this show is all about. We want to be able to show people, you know, you can do it. And I know he's referenced on a couple of times that one of the problems he has with West Virginia is people don't think they can make it from here. You two are evidence that's not the case.
There are players like a Randy Moss who they still work, but they clearly are gifted, and it's easy to see that they're going to be that guy, you know. But then there's more of us every kid can be me. Every kid can be Chris. They just don't understand the work that you got to put in, and the opportunity is actually there.
Let me cut you off right there. We got to take another commercial break. Listen, again, if you like what you see, you can check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on YouTube, on iTunes, on our website at wvsportsconnection.com. And we're on television on Network West Virginia Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 5:30, 6, and 8:30. Check us out. We'll be right back.
West Virginia Sports Connection provided by West Virginia State University, The Barnes Agency, Briggs Distributed, Tony the Tailor, West Virginia's finest men's store, Paul Corey, CPA and Associates, Hendrickson and Long.
It's fall here at Tony the Tailor. No one in the Mid-Atlantic does men's clothing like Tony the Tailor. Best selection of quality sportswear from Johnny O, Brax, and Ledbury. Huge shoe department featuring Cole Haan and DiBianco. Jackets and suits from Hickey Freeman, Samuelson, and Talia. And, of course, free alterations by Master Tailors. Tony the Tailor, 822 Virginia Street, downtown Charleston, or online at bestmastertailor.com.
Welcome back to West Virginia Sports Connection. We are coming to you from Adelphia Sports Bar and Grill in downtown Charleston, West Virginia. Carl, when we went out of the break, we were talking about, when we went into the break, we were talking about how sometimes people from here just don't give themselves enough credit. They can actually make it.
It's amazing, and again, you know, talking about guys like Randy Moss who are phenomenal athletes, but there are a ton of guys that are like Chris and I, you know, that just can work hard, get an opportunity, doesn't matter, walk on, what round you get in, just get there. And at some point in time, you have to put yourself out there to take the risk. And you do that better when you do all the preparation prior to, you know. And I mean, and I'm sure Chris is the same way. I mean, my training, I mean, I was out there doing it on my own, just training on my own, just trying to get there. That's what it takes. And we short-side ourselves because we just won't put in the effort because we're almost afraid that we won't make it. The effort about trying to make it, to me, is the thrill of it all.
Is that kind of how you looked at it?
I'm a really good long snapper. I snapped in high school. Only thing I want to do is prove that I played one play at Division I. I wanted to prove to everybody that I stepped on the field and I played. And so that opportunity come about, and I seized it, and the rest is history.
So you made that suggestion.
I did.
And look where it took you.
Well, first of all, I got my school paid for. You know, they put me on scholarship after the '98 season, and you know, Coach Pruitt done a lot for me in my career at Marshall, and then even my post-career in the NFL. He's always been a mentor. He's always going to be there for his players, and I never thought that skill would take me as far as it did, but you know, I was just blessed.
And what people don't understand too is a skill like that. If I'm a guy who I love football, and maybe I don't have a specific position that I'm good at, I'm trying to talk to him and say, hey, show me how to long snap. Guys, I don't know what the mentality or how the mentality got that you need to be like. I mean, part of it is just getting there. And then once you get there, the life changes altogether. Everybody's counting on that long snap. You know, I was a guy who ran down on punts. So I know the value of that punt, that snap. I mean, all those things, they're not looking at it the right way. They're just looking at it as like this individual thing and what I think I want to be compared to like what's available to me.
So when those doors open, I got to know what it's like for somebody like me who's never, ever going to experience that or never known. I mean, I played in high school and that was pretty much it. Your first game, both of you, this is for both of you, in the NFL, what is it like going out on that field? First of all, you get a call that you're drafted, right? What's that like, first of all?
I mean, I was sitting in my parents' living room in Chesapeake, West Virginia, and the call came from Coach Martz. And, you know, to see your name go across the board that you got selected was just, you know, it was unbelievable to share that with my parents and stuff like that. So
was there like an eruption at your house when you saw it? Did you get the call
crazy
before it went across the screen?
Yeah, I got the call before Coach Martz had called and told me what they were going to take me, and you know, I was just so excited, and you know, I was just ready to get to work, you know. But I had class the next day, so I was at class, you know, at 9 o'clock in the morning. So you know, it's taking advantage of the opportunity that presents itself to you, and I did that. You know, throughout my college career, you know, I earned a master's degree because I could snap a football. You know, I went to play in the National Football League. You know, I was considered a different type of snapper when I entered because I was smaller, I was more athletic, I could run, and I could cover and make plays. So teams actually had to game plan against me, you know, to cover the punt. They always had, you know, a big defensive tackle one-on-one, you know, if it got to the point that they couldn't block me and I was covered and making plays. So that was respect. And number two, the chance to play offense. You know, we kind of touched about this a little bit. So, you know, my rookie year, you know, I was a fullback for the first 5 years of my career in St. Louis. And so we're playing the Raiders. And mind you, I always went to meetings. I went to individual period. I ran scout team, this, that, and the other, but I never would have thought in a million years he'd put me in on offense in a game. Well, you only dress, you know, 53 or 46 and 53 on the active roster, so we had our starting fullback was hurt, and then our move tight end got hurt in the game, and we're playing the Raiders. You know, Rich Gannon, Jerry Rice, and all these guys, and it's, you know, it's first down alert, so I'm over there warming up, you know, for punt, and Coach Martz is hollering at me, and I'm like, why is he hollering at me? It's first down. So I run over there, and you know, he sends me in the game, and you talk about having a brook trout look. I'm in a huddle with, you know, I'm in a huddle with Kurt Warner and Orlando Pace, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, and Marshall Falk, and then, you know, Kurt calls the play. I write 80 BM, and I'm like, oh wait, I know that play. You know, I know that play. And then Marshall goes, all right, Massey, let's roll. And then when Marshall said that, I was like, okay, let's go. You know, I had the end man on line of scrimmage. Well, they shifted into the Nova front, and guess who walks down? Bill Romanowski. I'm like, oh man, not on my first play. Not on my first play. So calls the play, Bill comes up, and you know, I kick him out. We get an 8-yard gain. I finish the game. I end up starting the next week. You know, Marshall had 188 yards and 3 touchdowns. I graded out at 97%. I played 37 offensive plays. Never took a snap in practice. But I went to the meetings. I paid attention. I took mental reps, just like they tell you. And when that opportunity comes about, I seized it.
So you just got to, it is truly the mentality, the next man up. You were the next man.
I was the next man up.
Carl, what about you?
Well, I want to play off of something he said, because I just got asked. I was coming from youth football practice, and one of the dads said to me he didn't know that I had played for the Vikings, and he said, you know, what was that really like? You know, was it? I mean, what? You know, how did that just work? Like he didn't even really know how to phrase the question really. And I said, well, you know, crazy as it sounds, it ends up turning into like just a regular job. You know, you punch the clock. And you just go.
That's so
I know it
hard
sounds
for
crazy.
like me to believe,
it sounds
though.
crazy, but you say I got to go to work. I mean, everybody says I got to go to work. I got to be at work at such and such. I got a meeting at such and such, so I got to be at work at such and such, right? I mean, that's just how it was. But what's crazy is it turns into like no different than high school or no different than college. As great as the names that you play against, you know, I can remember, to his point, I'm going man-to-man against Jerry Rice. And Joe Montana's throwing it to him. Roger Craig is the running back that I might have to end up tackling. And I'm out there, and I kind of got to realize that this is just like somebody who I'm playing against in high school, or somebody I'm playing against in college. And you just blend into the mix, and you just do it. you know, it doesn't really matter. You know, it matters when you say the name. Like Jerry Rice, oh my gosh, I got to cover him all day. And then you just go and do it. And you don't win them all, but the ones that you win, you're happy about that. You know, it does. It just really just becomes like normal. Pro ball was no different for me than high school, wasn't any different than college. And how do you really say that? It's crazy, but you played it and you just did what you did.
Are you not looking at him? That's not Jerry Rice. This is number 80. I just gotta cover him.
Well, and I think Chris will agree with this too. One of the things that you do is, like, I'm always making the case that if I get beat, I'm more than likely did something wrong. You didn't beat me, you know? And so as great as Jerry Rice was, and Hall of Fame and all that, I had to treat him like he's just another guy. You know, and so, he got that catch. He got that catch. He might have 9 catches, and I'm still thinking he just got that catch. You know, because you couldn't ever leave yourself to say he's Jerry Rice and oh my gosh. You just couldn't do that. When you start looking out there, you're like, okay, I got to block this guy. I know who he is. But when you go and block him, he's just like anybody else that you block.
What was that? I mean, you said, oh man, it's Bill Romanowski. So when you go to hit him, I mean, does all that just go out the window?
It goes out the window, man. You play ball. And it's just ain't nothing like Carl, it's like playing high school. It's football. You know,
when he comes out of that stance, there's no turning back.
No.
there is no way for him to turn back on that block. So he's going to feel that contact some kind of way. So you might as well make it as positive as you can and hit him and don't let him hit you back.
That's crazy when you look. They're giving us the time. We're running. Listen, man. Chris, will you come back again?
Anytime.
I've had so much fun sitting here talking to you guys. I mean, it's just like I'm a kid in a candy store. I'm just listening to your all stories. So listen, if you like what you see, check us out on Facebook, on YouTube, on Network West Virginia, and on iTunes. And we're always welcome sponsors. You can contact us at wvsportsconnection.com. We'll catch you next time.